It's me. Hi. Okay, I gotta take these glasses off. These are not mine and I literally can't see anything with them. I was channeling the Kris Jenner. Hi everyone, my name is Kara, and in today's video, we are going to be decoding the entire Midnight's album, the 3 a.m. edition, of course, and I'm going to be giving you a book recommendation for every song on the album. I have worked very hard to give you guys a well-curated list of books to reflect the songs on this album. I have spent hours with these lyrics. I have sat with these lyrics. I have listened to podcasts. I've watched hours of Swift Talk, because if there's anything that I want more in my YouTube life, it is to be at the intersection of Taylor Swift and BookTube. For those who don't know me, my name is Kara. I am a Swiftie at heart. I have been with Taylor Swift since the beginning of time, since debut, since day one. I have grown up with her. I have been there with her through the Reputation era, through every relationship, every breakup. I love Taylor Swift. She is my music taste. And today I just want to sit back and talk about what I love most, Taylor Swift and books. So grab a coffee, grab a beverage. I think it's gonna be a long video. And let's just dive into this album. Let's dive into these lyrics. Before we get started, I do want to give a quick disclaimer though. Yes, I have done my research. I have tried to figure out what all of these songs are talking about, who they are about, but at the same time, I'm only one person and the world of Taylor Swift is endless, okay? We will never know as much as she knows. Also, if you feel like you have a recommendation you want to add to this list, please let me know in the comments. There were a few songs that were really difficult for me to come up with a book for, so please leave your comments of recommendations that you have as well. If you are new here and you haven't subscribed yet and you've watched a few of my videos, I would absolutely love it if you'd hit that subscribe button down below. That would be amazing. Please join this book community I have and Swiftie community. And if you are a Swiftie like me, please feel free to give this video a thumbs up because we're all Swifties here. Okay, so song number 1, Lavender Haze. Lavender Haze, if you are not familiar, Taylor Swift heard this phrase on Mad Men, and it's basically like, I'm just like living in this whole world, I'm falling in love, I'm just like living in the lavender haze of just like love and like joy and like being in love with someone. So that is what lavender haze means, and that is what the song is about. The song is just about feeling really comfortable in your relationship, just feeling like you're in love. I have the best recommendation for this ever. If there was a book to ever describe lavender haze, this is it. Okay, not this specific volume, but Heartstopper series. I mean, come on. Charlie and Nick are constantly in the lavender haze. They are just enthralled with each other. They love each other. They are so in love. These two are the most lavender haze people I've ever met. Also, if you were unaware, apparently, I'm not like 100,000,000% sure about this, but I know that lavender haze also is a nod to the queer community as well, and queer book. Also, this is lavender. I mean, could you even get any more lavender haze? Not the 4th edition. The 4th edition is really sad, but the first like 3, I mean, they are in the lavender haze. If you don't know what Heartstopper is about, please go watch the TV show. Please read this book. It is amazing. Basically, this book is about Nick and Charlie. They are best friends in high school, and they end up forming into a stronger relationship and eventually a romantic relationship, and it is the most pure and wholesome love you've ever seen in your life. They absolutely love the crap out of each other, and it is so wholesome and it is so sweet, and there's no other people that I could ever picture in the lavender haze other than them, okay? That's all I gotta say about that. Heartstopper is lavender haze, period. All right, track number 2 is Maroon. So close, so close. So the first few times that you listen to this song, you're like, oh my God, this track is sexy. It is passionate. It is loving. It is just all of the feelings of just like instant love and just connection and just like the most passionate vibes, right? But then you listen to it a few more times and then you're like, oh, there is something here that isn't all passion, right? Like you're crying with your head in your hands, the lips I used to call home. And then there's the stanza that's like, that's a real fucking legacy, which is dead. Once you have listened to that whole song and you've started to take in those parts, to me, this song is about a toxic relationship and how in a toxic relationship, those feelings of passion, of love, of just like overwhelming memory, like the mark you left on my collarbone, all that kind of stuff, those really vivid images take over the toxic parts of the relationship. And when you look back on the relationship, all of that passion is overshadowing the toxicity of it. So with that being said, I know I have mentioned this book in another Taylor Swift video before, but I also think this very much works here in terms of a toxic relationship, and that is Magnolia Parks. This is a very unconventional romance between Magnolia and BJ, and they have the most toxic thing you've ever even seen in your life, like literally ever. But you have those moments in there where you know it was so good for them at one point, like it was so passionate and so meaningful, and those images are just one after the other in their brains and they can't escape it. But it's so toxic for them that it's like they can't get over themselves. They can't move on from just the toxicity of it all. But like, that's a real fucking legacy to leave. Their legacy is extending to their entire friend group. Like every single person in their friend group knows how toxic this relationship is, that they like can't get over each other and can never move on each other no matter how hard they try. This is the most toxic relationship I can think of. So that is why I chose this for Maroon. All right, so next track is Anti-Hero, the single of the album. This song is incredible. It is such a bop. I absolutely love it. But this song is all about owning up to your insecurities, owning up to your own like personal problems. It's me, hi, I'm the problem. This is the hot girl, sad girl fiction book. There's literally no question that Anti-Hero fits this hot girl contemporary literary fiction genre. So the book that I have decided to pick for Anti-Hero is Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. So Sorrow and Bliss is about a woman in her 40s. Her husband ends up leaving her and she has a lot of mental health problems. She is trying to go on medication and it is literally a book about mental health. Like this woman is just going through it. And I haven't read this book yet, so I can't tell you if it's exactly related to Anti-Hero, but I do know this woman is like trying to go to therapy. She's trying to get help. She's trying to understand herself better. And that is the whole theme of Anti-Hero. She is taking ownership in this book of having those issues and trying to work through them and trying to get help for them. And that is exactly what Anti-Hero is about, is just owning up to your insecurities and knowing that you are the problem. There are a lot of books that could work in this category as well. Like My Year of Rest and Relaxation, I think could also work. Also haven't read that book yet, but like very much gives similar vibes. But this is the book that immediately came to mind when I heard this song. All right, track 4 is Snow on the Beach featuring Lana Del Rey. Featuring is a very loose term. Snow on the Beach is a song all about falling in love. It is about when you fall in love with someone and they fall in love with you too, and it's just this like weird standstill moment of like, this is so special and crazy and like, how is this happening? And it's just like a beautiful moment, right? I feel like there are a lot of books that probably could suffice for this, but I am not like the biggest romance reader in the world. So if you have a better recommendation than I do, please leave it in the comments below. So the book that I chose for this, again, I have not read, but I do know is a very passionate book, and it has like a very strong relationship in it. And that is The Song of Achilles. I do know this book is about Achilles and his lover Patroclus, and I know that they end up falling in love. They have a very real relationship. I know the ending is absolutely tear your soul out sad, but I do know that this book is about falling in love and forming a really, really close, deep relationship. From the vibes that I get from this book, it very much is that Snow on the Beach type of feeling, that like, oh my God, I'm just falling in love with someone. This is so beautiful. I'm really, really hoping that there is a moment in here like this. Again, if there's not, just let me know in the comments below. But the vibes that I get of this book are the same vibes that I feel with Snow on the Beach. All right, the infamous track 5. If you are a Taylor Swift fan, you know that track 5 is a very important track. And this track that she chose is one of my favorite songs on the album. It's honestly, they're all great, so I can't even talk. You're on Your Own, Kid. You're on Your Own, Kid is a song about Taylor's kind of rise to fame and how she cannot depend on anyone other than herself, and she trusts people and then they break her trust. So this song has some of the most poignant lyrics in the whole album. Like, in my opinion, she talks about how she has struggled with an eating disorder. She has talked about how she is trusting people and they completely break her trust, and she cannot trust anyone. In this whole world of fame, it is very hard to find people that you can depend on, and she's just talking about how she's really had to make it on her own, and she's sacrificed literally everything for her career to get where she is today. And I thought the most reflective book of this is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I read this book earlier this year, and I feel like this book truly represents this song. Jeanette McCurdy talks about how she had her rise to childhood fame. It is very much the same sentiment of You're on Your Own, Kid. The whole book surrounds how she has a very difficult relationship with her mother. Her mother is extremely over controlling and overly protective of her, which is not really like the theme of You're on Your Own, Kid, but at the same time, like Jeanette also really struggles with an eating disorder, and she's very explicit about that and talks about that in a very deep detail. And Jeanette talks about how Dan Schneider, the creator of iCarly, crosses boundaries with her and does not allow her to, you know, feel more or less in a safe environment. I feel like Jeanette McCurdy's book is the definition of You're on Your Own, Kid. Like literally one of my favorite books of this year. If you have not read it yet and you are a fan or were a fan of like iCarly and like Nickelodeon and Taylor Swift, I feel like it literally just encompasses that era for us. Please go read that book. It is so incredible. I don't think I could pick a better book to suit that song. Next song is Midnight Rain. Midnight Rain is about her dating a guy who just wants a very comfortable life. He wants a wife. He wants to just like have this very easy, comfortable life, but she wants to chase the fame. She wants to go for it all. She wants to, you know, expand her boundaries and just like become the superstar that she is today. The most similar experience that I could find of this, and please don't hate me for this because this is literally the only book that I could think of for this, but the book that I came up with is Eat, Pray, Love. And if you've never read Eat, Pray, Love was a book that like really was formulated to me when I was like in my young 20s, okay? I will not deny it. I was in an Eat, Pray, Love stan. I totally went through an Eat, Pray, Love phase in my life. So Eat, Pray, Love was written by Elizabeth Gilbert. And when Elizabeth Gilbert is in like her late 30s, she ends up divorcing her husband and goes on just this complete adventure. She goes to Italy for like 3 months. She goes to India for 3 months. And then I think she also goes to Bali for 3 months. But she literally has just this moment of like realization of I need to get out of here. I need to go like chase my dreams and like do the things that I've always been wanting to do. I loved this book and I don't care if you make fun of me for it, okay? Midnight Rain, it is kind of an Eat, Pray, Love moment, but it's also like Taylor wanted to chase the fame. And I could not find a book that specifically was like chasing fame, you know, not settling for the comfortable option and going for the scary option other than Eat, Pray, Love. It is the one that spoke to me for this song, okay? It is an Eat, Pray, Love moment. Okay, the next track is Question. So Question, I feel like is one of the hardest songs to decipher on this album. I've listened to it so many times. I have read so many articles about it, trying to understand the meaning behind it. And what I can gather, it is about miscommunication. It is about ending a relationship and having a lot of questions. And it just seems like mess to me. Like it just feels like the relationship ended. It was really messy. There were a lot of things left unsaid. There was miscommunication. Like it just did not go well. And there's no other author that I could give the messy miscommunication trope to than Sally Rooney. The book that I chose for this is Conversations with Friends, which also features Joe Alwyn, which is Taylor Swift's man. So it's relevant, okay? So Conversations with Friends is about a married couple, and then there's these two best friends, Frances and Bobby. And Frances and Bobby end up being connected with this married couple, and there's an affair that happens. It gets real messy. It is actually such a great book. There is a lot of plot to it, more plot for me than other of Sally Rooney's books. You're following it more or less from Frances's point of view, which is like the younger girl who's like more or less participating in the affair with Nick. Her moral stance on things kind of starts to spiral, right? And it just gets really messy and there's a lot of questions. Yeah, I think it fits. All right, song 7 is Vigilante Shit. Vigilante Shit is all about revenge, okay? It is about Taylor, cat eye, sharp enough to kill a man. She is out for blood, okay? She is out for blood. This song gives like very much Billie Eilish vibes. Like it is just dark, it is broody, it is like scary, it is all of those feelings. And I feel like there's no other book that I could think of that would fit this song better than Verity. Verity, I know, is a viral TikTok book, okay? And I am not like a Colleen Hoover stan by any means, so I'm sorry for all the girlies who absolutely love Colleen Hoover. She's not really for me, other than this book. If Colleen Hoover writes another book similar to Verity, I will be on board. So Verity is about a young woman named Lowen who gets hired by Verity's husband. Verity is a writer and she's like written this really successful series or something like that. And Lowen gets hired by her husband determined to be able to finish the series because Verity got injured and she is unable to finish the rest. So Lowen goes to her house and basically sorts through Verity's manuscripts and ends up finding like this autobiography that she never published, and it is a book that will take you down a rabbit hole and you will never be able to stop reading. I read this book like literally in 24 hours. It was so bingeable. It was so compulsive. And it is a very, very dark book. Let me just say that. I feel like I can't say much about this book if you haven't read it yet. Like, the best way to read this book is to just go into it blind, but it is wild. Ending is like mind blown. I think that's all I have to say about that. Just read it if you haven't read it yet. It is a wild ride. I feel like it'd be perfect for like the fall season right now too, but like vigilante shit, yes. Next song is Bejeweled. I can still make the whole place shimmer. Please give me a like if you know where that reference is from. Okay, so Bejeweled is all about just like, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling hot. I am loving myself. I believe from my research of Bejeweled, it is about how Taylor, she is like kind of in between relationships. She's broken up with Calvin Harris and now she is like going out of the town looking hot, looking great, feeling fine. This was a hard song to be able to come up with a book recommendation for, but I feel like I found the perfect one. And at first I was gonna say Princess Diaries because glow up moment, I mean Cinderella is like the theme of her music video. Princess Diaries as a movie, yes, spot on. But the book recommendation I have for this is The Great Gatsby. And I feel like it very much reflects that like feeling hot, great party vibe. Like it is literally Bejeweled. If you know The Great Gatsby, you know it is all about these really glamorous, like over the top intensive parties and you're just like feeling so great and so nice and there's lots of shimmering, okay? I feel like The Great Gatsby very much fits the vibe of Bejeweled. And there's a lot of like literary layers that you can look into with The Great Gatsby too, but like on the outside, it's Bejeweled. It's feeling fine. It's looking hot. It's throwing glamorous parties. It's all of the vibes, right? Yeah, I feel like The Great Gatsby totally fits Bejeweled. All right, song number 9 is Labyrinth, which is such a great song. So great. I love this song. Another one of my favorites. Labyrinth is about coming out of a relationship, feeling like she's never going to be able to move on, and then falling in love again, like pretty quickly. It is a song that it has a very quick turnaround, but at the same time, it's like a song about like, wow, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to get over this person and I'm already falling in love again. And I actually have 2 recommendations for this song, both of which have very similar plots. So the recommendations I have are One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and then also You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. Both of these books feature a relationship where the man in the relationship has died or like passed on, and the woman is beginning to find new love again. And I feel like those 2 books featuring that my husband has died or passed on and now I'm moving on to someone else and I didn't think that I was going to be able to move on to someone else. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same vibe. I haven't read both of those books yet, so if you do feel any differently from me from those, again, leave it in the comments, but I think I would both recommend them for Labyrinth because I think it is like very, very similar structure, you know? Okay, song number 10 is Karma, and such a bop, so great. Karma is about karma. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Karma is about how everyone who has wronged Taylor Swift before, Taylor Swift is just sitting there with her cat purring in her lap and she's like, karma bitch. And the book recommendation I have for Karma is Where the Crawdads Sing, because if you read it, karma. So Where the Crawdads Sing is about Kaya. She is a young girl who has grown up in like the swamps of North Carolina, and her entire family has abandoned her and she like doesn't have any social skills. She is living off of the land and she is just trying to literally survive. As Kaya ages, she begins to form relationships with people in her town, and she has people who end up taking advantage of her throughout the book. And as the book progresses, things happen, okay? Things happen to those people who have wronged her, and that's all I'm gonna say about that, okay? Karma, bitch. Where the Crawdads Sing is honestly such an incredible story. The author, Delia Owens, is like actually like a botanist or something and very much reflects all of the actual flora and ecology of the swamps of North Carolina, and it's honestly like so stunning to read and also has an incredible plot to it. So if you haven't read it yet, I would recommend. I know some people don't actually like that book a whole lot, but I really think it fits the karma vibe, okay? All right, song number 11 is Sweet Nothings. And this was one that was another one that was a little bit hard to find because again, Sweet Nothings is about a perfect relationship where you are just feeling so safe, so secure, you feel very comfortable. And typically in books, that is not a plot of a book. Usually there is some kind of conflict in a book to be able to like have a plot. But Sweet Nothings is literally just about like Taylor is with Joe and she doesn't want anything else from him. He doesn't want anything else from her. He doesn't expect anything from her. And she just feels so comfortable with him. And it's just like the most beautiful, pure love that you could ever want. So the book that I chose for this, the whole book does not specifically reflect Sweet Nothings, but there is a relationship in this book that very much gives off the Sweet Nothings vibe. And that is The Most Fun We Ever Had. So The Most Fun We Ever Had is by Clara Lombardo. This is a family generational saga. There's 4 kids in this family and you're following the parents and then also each of these 4 kids' lives. The people that I feel like are the most Sweet Nothings part of this book are the parents. The parents have been in love for like so long. It is a love that like you could only dream of. They are so head over heels for each other and they just don't expect anything else from the other person other than just to love them and to care for them. This book has a lot more conflict than just what I'm talking about right now. Like each of the kids like goes through something and as a family they kind of just go through all of it together, but the parents are the people that really tie this whole like family together and they really keep them grounded. Yes, the parents do have problems themselves, but like their relationship is very much the Sweet Nothings vibe. So if you like generational family sagas, seriously, I would pick this up. Like I feel like this is a classic family generational saga, but the parents in this book, Sweet Nothings. That's it. That's, yeah, I think that relationship is literally exactly what Taylor Swift is talking about. Okay, and we have come to the last song on the Midnight's album, not the 3 AM edition yet. We'll get to those next. This is another one that was a really, really hard one to come up with. So I challenge you. I am sure all of you romance readers out there know a book that is good for this one, but this one was the hardest one for me to find. Mastermind. Mastermind is about Taylor Swift being a mastermind, okay? Not only is this song talking about how you see someone and you want someone and you have a whole plot in the back of your mind of how you're gonna get that person, but I also think she is alluding to how she plans everything. Nothing is accidental. She is putting all these Easter eggs. She is like being intentional about like what she puts out online and what she puts in her music videos and what, you know, like all of that stuff that like the whole Taylor Swift world that we are all trying to decode. She is saying in this song, like, yeah, that's me. I'm doing it. This is all intentional. This is all purposeful, like very much owning up to it. And the book that I chose for this, I wanted to try and find a book that represented like a woman being a mastermind and a woman having a whole plot and scheme like for whatever was going to happen in the book. I couldn't come up with a book like that, but I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like there is a book out there that is right in front of my face that I'm missing something. So if you have a better book for me than this, please leave it in the comments. The book that I came up with is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And I know people are gonna be like, wait, what? But everything that they are doing in this book is very purposeful. Vin, who is the main character in this book, she's like a young woman, probably in her like late teens, early 20s. She kind of has like a group of accomplices who are trying to overthrow this king. And everything they do is very, very purposeful. So Vin is a Mistborn. Mistborns are able to control metals. Like they are able to use metals to their advantage and they give them magical powers and stuff like that. But there is a whole plot about kind of trying to get to this like king ruler. And like one of the lyrics that really made me feel like Mistborn could fit for this is, no one wanted to play with me as a little kid, so I've been scheming like a criminal ever since. Vin is a badass woman. She is a mastermind. She is trying to overthrow this person and she's only like 14 or something like that. I feel like it does hit, but there probably is another recommendation that could work, but honestly, I feel like Mistborn does work. Okay, so now we are into the 3 AM tracks, which are some of my favorite, actually, I think some of my top favorites right now. Honestly, the Taylor Swift Aaron Dessner combo, I live for. First one is The Great War. I could not come up with the meaning of this just listening to it. I had to look at the lyrics and I had to read stuff about it because I feel like it was a hard one to crack. So The Great War is about Taylor Swift bringing baggage into a new relationship. Like, she has had relationships where she's been burned in the past. She, you know, is very distrustful of her partner because they've burned her and stuff like that, and they've like done things that she cannot trust them. And now she's bringing that baggage into a new relationship, and she's kind of causing trouble with the new relationship. Yet the partner in the relationship is like, wait, why are you sabotaging us? Why are you doing this? Looking up to her with honor and truth, being like, hey, I'm here for you. Like, it's okay. We don't need to fight. We don't have to be in the Great War anymore. And I feel like the book that represents this is not my favorite book in the world, but it very, very much represents this concept, and that is Love on the Brain. Love on the Brain is about our two main characters, Levi and B. And B was in a past relationship, and she is like very distrustful of men going forward. She has a lot of interactions with this guy, Levi, who she has worked with in the past. Levi has a total thing for her. Like, it's really, really obvious that Levi has a thing for her. And it's kind of like a hate to love romance where B is very much like, oh my God, he hates me. This is never gonna work out. Like, very much bringing her past baggage into this like new potential relationship. It's literally the song of The Great War is this book. She thinks that he has all of these false beliefs about her, about how she's like such a horrible person to work with, all this kind of stuff. And she just thinks that he has it out for her when she's just been really burned by her past relationships before, and she's now just bringing it into this new potential relationship that she could have with him. It's not the best book I've ever read in my life, but it really does represent the song, and that's what we're going for here. Track 14, Bigger Than the Whole Sky. This song, Bigger Than the Whole Sky, talks about how you're grieving for someone that could have been. Like, it is just a song to me about grief. I've also heard this song relating to like people who had something very traumatic happen to them, and like who they were before the traumatic episode has died. I spent a lot of time crying after reading that. But to me, this song, it's a very much a song about grief. And the book that I chose for this is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This book, I have not read it yet, but I know this book fits this song. I know it does. Before the Coffee Gets Cold is centered around this coffee shop where there is a magical aspect of like time travel to it. It's basically you get to go back in time and you get to relive a portion of your life. So the stories that are represented in this is confronting the lover who left them, receiving a letter from their husband whose memory has begun to fade, seeing their sister one last time, or meeting the daughter they never got the chance to know. And I think that, I mean, just reading the synopsis of it, it just very much seems like what could have been this relationship that didn't pan out. What could have been my unborn child that I didn't get to meet, my sister that I didn't get to say goodbye to, all of that kind of stuff, I think just really reflected in Bigger Than the Whole Sky. I know the second I read this book, I'm gonna cry. I literally read the synopsis of this and I cried. I just know that this book is going to be exactly that song. I just have a feeling this is gonna be probably one of my favorite books I've ever read. You know what I just realized? I think I've been reading the track list wrong. I think I've been numbering them wrong. I think they were numbered wrong on my sheet, and now I have numbered them wrong throughout the whole video, so I'm sorry about that. But the next song is Paris, and Paris is about Paris. It is about Taylor Swift being in Paris, enjoying her lover, enjoying the time that she is spending in Paris. It is like a little period piece about Paris, okay? And while the book that I have chosen is not specifically about Paris, I wanted to choose a book that was very much like, this is just a time captured moment where you are having the time of your life in this big city. And the book that I chose for this is Rules of Civility by Immortals. This book is a period piece about New York City in the 1920s or 1930s. It is about a group of friends who kind of start climbing the ranks in society. You follow this woman, Katie Content, and her two other friends. They all start off very like lower middle class society, and they start climbing the ranks in New York City. And this book is like glamour. It is New York City. It is just everything that you think of and could associate with 1930s New York City is this book. I feel like this book is reflective of Paris because the song Paris, you are just like, you are in Paris, you are drinking champagne, you are having the time of your life, you are watching the Eiffel Tower. Like, it is just like everything in Paris you could do with a lover, you are doing. This book is like everything you could do in New York City while climbing the upper echelons of society and finding who you are and like doing all that kind of stuff. It's just like a time capsule of New York City in the 1930s, and I felt like this like very much reflected the Paris vibe. Okay, this next song, High Infidelity, I don't have a lot to say about the book I chose for this, okay? I actually have two recommendations for this one. The first one is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. So Our Wives Under the Sea is a queer literary fiction. It follows two women, Leah and Miri, and Leah goes on this like deep sea dive for her job or something like that. And while she is on this deep sea dive, she ends up meeting a different person. High Infidelity is about like kind of cheating, right? And this book very much is like Leah comes back from the deep dive and now she wants to be with someone else. She is like not the same person she used to be. She has met someone while she has been on this journey, and the tides are kind of turning for her, no pun intended. That is exactly what High Infidelity is about. Taylor Swift is kind of like, yeah, where do you think I was April 29th? She was with someone else. And I feel like that this book very much represents that as well. So while I have not read this book yet, I think that this book very much gives the vibes of High Infidelity. The other recommendation I have for High Infidelity is A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury. And that's all I'm gonna say about that, okay? If you know, you know. Throwing a little fantasy romance vibe in there. All right, the next song is Glitch. So the theme of Glitch is that Taylor Swift is supposed to be just friends with someone, Joe Alwyn, and she ends up falling for him really quickly. And she's like, what the heck? We were supposed to be just friends, and now I'm in love with you. The book that I picked for this is Funny You Should Ask. Funny You Should Ask is a book about a journalist and a celebrity. I think that the journalist had interviewed the celebrity, I don't know, 10 years before the book is set. I don't know if they like actually hooked up while they were like doing that interview or something, but there was like definitely a spark between them. And now 10 years later, they have reconnected. They're forming a romance with each other. I haven't read this book yet, but I felt like this was very much Glitch vibes. You're supposed to be just friends. This is supposed to be a work relationship. And now we are embarking on the romantic. That's the vibe I get from Funny You Should Ask. Please let me know if it's anything different, okay? Track 19. We have made it to track 19. Would've, could've, should've. This is in my top 2 Taylor Swift songs of all time. This and All Too Well, I mean, John Mayer, just say goodnight and goodbye because there is no John Mayer after this. Would've, could've, should've is the most emotional, personal track that I've literally ever heard from Taylor Swift other than All Too Well. When I first listened to it, my jaw was on the floor. And if you are like anywhere in the Taylor Swift universe, you know that this is likely about John Mayer. We don't know the whole story, but we know that John Mayer wronged her, okay? Give me back my girlhood. It was mine first. Taylor. So Would've, Could've, Should've, like I said, it's about John Mayer. It's about her relationship with him when he was 32 and she was 19. And we know it did not end well. And he tried to just skirt it under the rug like nothing happened and wash his hands clean. This is a very personal situation that Taylor Swift is talking about. And what we can gather from the song is it was a really horrible time for her and she can't erase the memories that she has of this. And she was taken advantage of by an older man. Horrific, right? The book that I came up with to represent this is also a horrific story. And that book that I have chosen is My Dark Vanessa. I have not read this book and I do not plan to read this book. This is a book about a young teenage girl who gets taken advantage of by her teacher, and it is about pedophilia, and it is a book with a lot of trigger warnings, and I would encourage people to look up those trigger warnings if you are thinking about going into it. But I have heard this is a very well-written novel. I have heard it is really emotional and jarring and disturbing, and kind of like every uneasy feeling that you get listening to Would've, Could've, Should've, you get with reading My Dark Vanessa, and probably even stronger feelings like that. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I don't think I will ever read that book, but that was the book that I wanted to pick for this because I know it evokes such strong feelings, and My Dark Vanessa also evokes the same strong feelings. All right, so we have made it to the last song, which is Dear Reader, and Dear Reader is an ode to advice columns. This is a song reflecting on her time growing up and being in the spotlight and giving advice to her younger self is what I have taken this song to be. I have chosen 2 books for this song. So the first one I have, I think actually really accurately represents this song very well. And it is a very popular book talk book, but I feel like it truly does represent this song. And that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I don't know if there's a person on BookTube who hasn't read this yet, but it is so, so amazing. So this book follows Evelyn Hugo as she is being interviewed by this young journalist or writer, Monique, who is writing her biography for her. So she's reflecting on her time as like a Hollywood starlet from the 1950s to the 1980s. She is revealing her entire life story to this journalist, and you're just following her through old Hollywood and as she reflects on her life as a celebrity. I think that this book very much has the same sentiment as Dear Reader, where you're looking back on your life, especially as a celebrity like Taylor Swift is and as Evelyn Hugo was. And you know, she is making commentary about her past self, what she would have done differently and stuff like that. And I think that this book is just very reflective of Dear Reader as a whole. And also it's literally just an amazing book. 5 out of 5 stars. It's absolutely incredible. I would recommend this book to absolutely everyone. It is so touching. I cried. It was great. Yes, Dear Reader, Evelyn Hugo, yes. And the other book recommendation that I have that isn't as strong as Evelyn Hugo is, but I do think is still relevant, is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. Lori Gottlieb is a therapist, like a psychotherapist, and she's also an advice column writer, and I felt like that very much fitted the vibe of Dear Reader since it is an ode to advice columns. This is a nonfiction story, and you're following multiple different cases that Lori has dealt with over the years as a therapist. Obviously, she doesn't say names, but it's real life scenarios as she's helping people go through therapy and overcome their issues and work through their mental health problems and stuff like that. I thought this book was relevant not only because she is a columnist, but she is also a therapist. And I felt like Dear Reader very much talks about like, don't take advice from someone who's falling apart. Maybe You Should Talk to Someone is like, don't take advice from someone who's falling apart, take advice from a therapist. Really great book, especially if you're into learning more about like mental health and therapy in general. I really, really loved this book. I would highly recommend if you have any interest in that. It really just talks about what, you know, happens in therapy and talking about people's issues and how they work through them and their stories and kind of coming out on the other side. I thought this was a really well done book. Wow. We did it. We did it, folks. We have made it to the end of Midnight's the 3 a.m. edition. All of the book recommendations that I have for you based on this album. I really, really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have made it this far, I'm assuming you are interested in Taylor Swift and books, and I'm going to recommend you a few of my other videos to check out. I did one about Magnolia Parks, comparing it to the 10-minute version of All Too Well. And then I'm also gonna leave a link right here to Sad Girl Autumn Vibes book recommendations, because Taylor Swift and Sad Girl Autumn, it is one. It basically anti-hero vibes. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video.